You're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast on Digital Stream Radio.
Every day, we are given opportunities to practice handling stressful situations, so when the time comes, you know how to jump into action. As a parent, these often feel like life or death, but don't be afraid to listen to your gut. It's usually right. Hey everyone, you're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast, a weekly show that chronicles the adventures of motherhood. I'm Candace. Now let's start the show. Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm feeling good.
It's not Thursday today,
I
but
know.
yeah, I know.
That's
Yeah,
okay though.
Happy, should we say happy birthday, America? We can say that, right?
I mean, I guess.
I mean, it feels sort of kind of weird given all the craziness that's happening and all the people and stuff that are locked up, cages,
Right.
children, missing parents.
I didn't celebrate, but I took
Yeah.
the free day.
Well, of course, I'll take it any day. But anyway, we're back.
I know, we are.
So, as a result of America's birthday, we took Thursday off and we
Yes.
decided to come to the studio on Friday.
Which is nice because I needed a rest yesterday.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in the middle of a party.
I'm proud of you.
So.
Hey, listen, you know it's a good party when you can go and you can actually rest at
Yeah.
someone's party.
No, it was my party.
Oh, it was your party?
It was my party. I don't
Even
know.
better.
I don't know. Well, I mean, it was my house, my couch, but it was one of those things where, like, you should not sit down. Usually in a party in your own house, you're always moving. You're constantly need to do this, pick up that, send someone this, give someone that kind of thing.
That's true.
But there were so many people there and so many moms around. I mean, I guess just a couple moms, and James is a really good host that I went to talk to my mother-in-law and I sat down on the couch and I just started to lean and lean and lean.
You were looking for that comfortable spot.
Yeah. And then I didn't even know I was asleep. So it was nice. I mean,
It
was
happens.
nice.
Hey, listen, sometimes you just need a break. And a lot of people don't realize that. Well, you're a mom like she is, a breezy mom like she is. You just have to get it where you can.
Yes, you really do just have to fit it in. And I can't even say it was a micro nap. It was at least an hour, maybe more. I don't know.
And you know what? I'm proud of your guests that they actually let you go through with it.
Well, everybody huddles in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Everybody huddles around the food. And so they didn't even miss me. I don't even think they missed me. James came looking for me after a while and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I need another minute. I wasn't even
my God,
ready.
I love it. Well, first of all, I want to say hi to everyone on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us today. And of course, you know, the show is available on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio. It's also available on, what's the other one? Spotify. Thank you. I always
Podbean.
forget Spotify and Podbean and all those
Google
good places.
Play.
And I know that Candace would definitely appreciate that you guys go subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting
It's not
service.
thumbs ups, it's like stars or something. Whatever
Yeah,
it
it's
is, just click on the buttons.
Yeah, and just give her a shout out that way.
Yeah, I would love that.
It's free and it's amazing and it helps her and it helps us. So yeah, do that.
Yeah, and thanks for watching on Facebook. I feel like we've been getting a lot of new listeners because Facebook is so easy to tune into. So I really appreciate you guys, especially on a Friday night. I don't know who will be here, but it's nice to have a new set of people that we have access to because of Facebook. So
That's right.
I guess shout out to Facebook. Thanks.
Thanks, Facebook. So anyway, Candace, I have a question for you.
I'm listening.
How are your incredible boys?
My boys are good. They're really good. I'm gonna breeze through a little bit because we're gonna talk about Emery a little bit more later. But the boys are good. Lincoln is humongous and is I think I've talked about this before, but he's getting a lot better at it. He'll come and ask me for something and then I say no. And then he goes and he asks James, and because James hasn't learned yet, he says yes. Right.
Mm.
And so then Lincoln comes back to me and says, "Oh, Mom, guess what I'm getting?" And he goes, "I'm getting a robot on Sunday. I ordered it from Amazon." And I swear I wanted to punch him in the face. I was like, "You're not supposed to feel this way. You're not supposed to feel this way." But just the way he like neck rolled me and was just knew that he did a thing that he was not supposed to. You know, that he got away with a thing.
Yeah.
I just for a moment wanted to fight him like a stranger.
And then he acknowledges it too.
Yes.
Like he knows. He's like, I want you to know that I know
know.
that I got away with it. Okay? So, you know.
Yeah.
You might not want to mess with me over here.
I'm gonna catch you in the streets.
No.
So yeah, his little mind is working overtime, and we're going to have to keep up with him. Today at nap time, he said, "Oh, I want to go and lay down in my room." I said, "Oh, why do you want to go up in your room?" Because he never wants to do nap time or quiet time in his room. He said, "I just want to be in my room." I was like, "Okay, should I come upstairs and see what you're doing upstairs in your room?" And this is because, over the last half an hour, I've seen you quietly take your tablet upstairs, and then quietly, separately take your headphones upstairs, and then quietly, separately take some toys upstairs, right? I know what you're doing, but I like that you think I don't.
Yeah.
And so when I said, "Do you want me to come up and see what you're doing up there? Make sure you're okay." And he goes, No, I'm okay. I'm just laying down. It's like, dude, you think I'm stupid? I'm not stupid. You're not smart because I'm stupid. What do you think this is?
Kudos for trying, though. That's that's when for example, that a child from a mentally developed perspective,
that ain't a thing wrong with him.
He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's looking for his angle. And mamas, pay attention, because sometimes them angles can get you into a lot of trouble.
Right. But we already know them. And I decided that it was okay because he had already spent an hour doing his quote unquote summer homework. So he'd already done a bunch of things that I wanted him to do. And so at the end of nap time, I came upstairs and he could hear me coming. And so when I got to the door, he was coming running to the door to say, "Oh, I was just watching." I was like, "Dude, I've known you've been up here watching it the whole time. I allowed this to happen. You don't have to be upset. I mean, you don't have to be worried. I'm not coming up here to yell at you. I'm just coming to tell you nap time is over. So now you have to turn off the tablet, whatever it's called." And he said, okay.
It would be funny for you to tell me, "So you see that teddy bear over there? You see that teddy bear? You see that teddy bear's eye is a camera.
Right.
And I see everything that you do.
And I have need one.
Cameras all over the house just to see his reaction."
I always know what's happening. Yeah, his new thing is that he likes to use the Alexa drop-in feature, but he doesn't know where I am, so he just drops in randomly, and he's like, "I was trying to call you through Alexa."
Ah. It's funny how they can pick up on, children today can pick up on technology. Because when you think about, for example, Zennials, and if you need a description of what that is, it's all of us that were born in an analog age, but grew up in
analog and adulthood and digital.
And kind of transitioned into digital. So you have the best of both worlds. It's like, your child, when you hand them a device, they kind of run circles around you because they grow up with this. I mean, from the time they were born, it's like they came out with a phone in their hand and they're like, "Hello?
Yeah.
Girl, I already knew I was born. I posted it on Facebook yesterday." That kind of thing. I mean, that's how smart they are. It's incredible,
Yeah. So we are actually just started a allowance with him. So he's got a chore chart, and I'm not being particular about it, but he's practicing his check marks, and he comes running. Which one says do homework? Which one says picked up laundry? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that he can get, I think we agreed on $5 a week, so that he can get his $5, so that then he can have his money to buy his things. And I think that might actually help us, because then we can do we'll have to do some math. Dude, you don't have enough money for a robot.
Yeah.
I don't want a robot. You want a robot, and you have money. So that just started, and I'm hoping that slows down. The other thing that slows down the constant asking for stuff from Amazon, which I guess I have to admit, it means that he thinks they come really easy, which means that Amazon boxes are coming. So I probably have to look at my own life a little bit while I'm getting annoyed at him. But the other thing, where was I going with this? Something about the ordering from Amazon and the allowance. I just had a thought bubble burst. It just went right out of my brain. But anyway, so I'm excited to try this allowance thing with him, and I'm hoping that it stops these constant, that's what I was going to say, the constant asking of things from Amazon. And we were just discussing getting a new tablet for Emery for a trip that's coming up. And James said that you can buy like the cheaper you can buy a more expensive tablet that doesn't have the commercials on it, and that it's the commercials on Lincoln's tablet that are getting us, because these things are just popping up, and then he comes and asks us about some random thing we've never seen, because we don't watch live TV, so he's not seeing a ton of commercials, but they're coming up on the tablet. And
like
I didn't
when
even
they're like
realize
on
that.
Facebook, or
well, no, because he's not on Facebook. It's just when he's on anything.
when they open up the apps and stuff.
When he opens the apps or anything, just like all these ads come on. But apparently you can pay a little more money up front, and then you don't get those ads. You don't get those ads. So I don't know the details of it, but he just mentioned it, and we were like, it might be worth it. So you like put the money out front, but it saved you like 15 toys.
Nice.
I don't know.
So I know that we have so much to discuss, but I wanted to ask you a question.
I'm listening.
Regarding your solar. How's that going?
Oh, it's going, but we're still waiting. It hasn't gotten connected yet. So they're installed, but we're waiting on UI to do something, and then they have to come and test it, and then they have to flip a switch, and then it'll be on. Meanwhile, I'm running my AC, so I wish they would hurry up.
Oh.
I wish they would hurry up. So, I mean, eventually it'll come on. I'm not worried. I wish that we could get this summer, but if we don't, eventually it'll come
There's
back.
always next year.
There's always next year, and it'll still work in the fall,
in the winter.
I imagine it'll be on by August.
Yeah.
So at least you have August, September. So we'll see. But I'm excited for when it comes. I told you we have 29 or 30 panels on our house. So because we got not only our house, but our garage.
Yeah.
So it really should put a significant dent into our electric bill.
Nice.
Which would help balance our gas bill in the fall. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
I'm excited for you.
Me too. And then James is really good. James's birthday was this week.
That's right. Happy birthday,
James. It feels weird because the week is over. It's Friday already. It feels like such a long time ago.
He's got a birthday month.
Yeah, so birthday month, at least a birthday week. And so we did a little celebrating for him. And it's funny as we get a little bit older, not at all saying that we're old, but we get a little bit older. It's just fun to have some quiet time at home. So it was just the four of us dancing around a cake. We have this song that we play for everyone's birthday. It's it's your birth. Oh gosh, now I can't remember the guy's name. Why is my brain not working? I feel like I've been having these.
Have more truly.
It's the truly. No, I think it's Friday at the end of a long week. And yesterday, even though we had a day off yesterday, we had a lot of people at the house, so it didn't really feel like a day off. It was fun, but it was still
it's work. I mean, a lot of people don't realize hosting is work.
It is work. Hosting is a lot of work. And I've decided that I really like impromptu parties the best
because you don't plan it.
You don't have any of the stress of planning. You just have to eat, right? You just find the food, you bring the food. Oh, you're going to eat anyway. It was actually Yashmin and her family came over, and Yashmin always has a ton of food.
And that girl, she knows how to cook. She can throw down.
Exactly. So I was like, whatever you guys were going to eat, just bring it to my house and we'll put it on the grill. So it was perfect. But there was none of that pre-party stress, that pre-hosting stress that you go through. Oh, what kinds of things should you get? Blah, blah, blah. Does the house have to be clean? Like all of these things. It's just like, this is how I'm living. Come on in. Come on in.
The water's fine.
The water's fine. So it was good. How was your 4th?
The 4th was good. I mean, we didn't. I didn't see any fireworks in the city of West Haven, which is where I live, and because I know they did theirs on the 3rd, and they're right on the beach, and people go out, and it just turns into a hot mess.
Yeah, but last year there was
a riot.
Yeah,
and we were snatching children and literally running towards the street. Yeah, it can be. In certain areas.
I'm just gonna say West Haven's a little ratchet,
and so is New Haven. But
I know, but people expect that. People are like, oh, West Haven.
No, it was.
It's like,
What ended up happening is that at the end of the beach in West Haven last year, there were 2 houses, and they were throwing these huge, massive parties, and there were literally thousands of people on the beach, and about 100+ guests at these parties, and they started arguing and fighting, and next thing you know, you have a wave of people coming down the beach to try to get away from that altercation. And you've got kids on the beach, and I remember I grabbed someone's child and just started running and gunning for the house that we were visiting, because it can get pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
People can start shooting. It's just you just don't know.
Or you fall down in the sand. It's hard to really
get your bearings.
Your footing.
And so, but everyone was fine that we were with, and it's just now you just know that you have to have 20 eyes around you, especially when there's fireworks involved, when there's large crowds involved. Because the problem with fireworks and big crowds and shootouts is that you don't know which is which. So you don't know if that was a firecracker. You don't know if that was a firework that just went off.
I don't go. I think we went once 8 years ago in Hamden, but with my 2 kids, I definitely don't go.
We're playing footsie.
I know. And last night, I think Lincoln said, "Oh, I saw an orange one." So he saw one from our backyard, and I was like, I wish that we lived at the top of the hill so you could see over the trees.
Yeah.
But he saw 1 or 2, and he was happy. I might show him some videos of it, but we haven't been enough for him to be sad that we didn't get to go. He doesn't know it's a real thing. He just knows we see them sometimes in our yard. And thankfully, I live in New Haven, so fireworks happen whenever people feel like it.
Yeah.
It's not
and then, so
July.
on the 4th, New Haven held theirs on the 4th. And so we ended up going. What we did was...
Was it on the green?
No, they do them off of East Rock now. So you can go to Rice Field at the bottom of East Rock and watch the fireworks over you. So what we decided to do was, because we weren't going to those fireworks, I wasn't going anywhere near New Haven yesterday. Nick, who's my co-host on our show, and a couple of other friends were here. We were having drinks and barbecuing and doing all that stuff. Said, "Oh, let's go watch the fireworks from somewhere." And so he had the bright idea of going to Milford, thinking that he would see New Haven. I was like, "Girl, you was out your mind." Because you're not going to be able to see them. You have to literally go in. So we ended up driving down Beach Avenue and going all the way to the end of the West Haven Beach. And there's an inlet that you can walk out onto. And that allows you to actually see the whole area where Long Wharf is. And you can see all the fireworks there.
Oh, that's cool.
But the mosquitoes, girl. I swear I came out with Zika out of that jungle or something. But no, it was good. And, and then this morning you got to get up and go to work.
Right. Even I was up at 5:30 this morning doing the second round of cleaning of my house because I did just enough to fill the dishwasher. That's all I could handle last night.
The struggle is real.
This morning I had to be ready for 7:30 when my first intern showed up. So it's I don't know about these Thursday holidays. I don't know. I don't think I can handle it.
It's just I'm just happy that Confefe's little party got rained out.
I didn't even look at it. I didn't turn on my TV yesterday.
Nope.
And it wasn't until today that I saw that hashtag about the Revolutionary War stories. Holy cow. He's a clown.
Oh, my God.
This is because he's just on autopilot of his brain and his mouth or there's some disconnect.
They're on two different worlds.
I don't think it's a disconnect. I think he's stupid, right? So I think he really believes what he's saying and he just doesn't know. He doesn't know that he's an idiot and he just believes everything that he says because if he thought it, it must be true. You know what I mean?
I've been reading memes all day long,
oh my God,
and I'm in stitches.
My favorite is it says something like, "Emily, I'm afraid our flight has been delayed a fortnight." I was like, "What?"
Where you don't know what fortnight is, it's 2 weeks. No, my favorite's the one that I just literally saw right before I actually showed you, right before we went on the show, and it says, "Dear Martha," it's like President Washington writing to Martha. "Dear Martha, my flight has been delayed. I swear when we take this country, it will change from British Airlines to American Airlines. I'm waiting at Cinnabon now. Love, George." I'm dying.
I love that Cinnabon is in all the... Cinnabon and Auntie Anne's, I saw in a couple of them. And then another one was something about Shake Shack being in every terminal. The whole thing is hilarious. And we laugh, but this is a dude in charge with the codes.
Seriously.
So it's really...
he's in charge of the football.
It's really
that's scary.
It's really pretty scary. And then the other thing, if we're just going to do hot topics today, is that they announced that Ariel, the new stage Little Mermaid, is going to be this woman, this young woman, Halle Bailey. Sorry, again.
It sounds like Halle Berry, right?
Yeah, and she's actually part of a singing group. Her and her sister. I don't think they're twins. They might be twins, but I think they're just close in age.
Yeah,
and they're beautiful. And you've seen them in Beyonce videos. They have an album that just came out last year. beautiful voices. They are beautiful girls. And now that I know she's Ariel, like she totally looks like Ariel to me.
Yeah.
I don't care that you know that you remember someone, but like I'm thinking about James Bond. James Bond was 10 different white men. Batman has been 10 different white guys, like who all look different. And after you watch it a couple times, you're like, okay, I guess this is the new Batman. Although I stand for, I don't know his name.
Robert Pattinson.
No, what? I lost my shit when I heard he was
He's
the
gonna
new
be the new Batman.
the new Batman. I couldn't handle it. No, why don't I know his name right now? He is Beetlejuice.
Oh, Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Are you kidding me?
In my head, I kept saying Michael Douglas, and I was like, that is wrong. That is really wrong. I feel weird on Friday. I think it's a Friday thing. I feel really weird today.
Yeah. It's okay. We're off our game.
Shake
a little.
it off. Shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off. We're off our game because it's not our normal recording.
It's not
day.
our normal night.
But yeah, it's like people are losing their shit over the fact that you have a beautiful
black girl,
young woman who is absolutely capable of taking that role and spinning it for what it's worth. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna lose my shit if I go online and read one more thing about. There was this one group that's trying to scientifically prove why
science about mermaids.
Yeah, like seriously, like why she can't be black because scientifically that's impossible.
The sun doesn't reach the ocean floor.
I
what?
Can't. I was losing my shit, and I'm like, first of all, it's a goddamn mermaid.
Right.
1, 2, she's fake. She's a fake character invented by Disney.
Yeah.
Get over your shit.
No, my favorite one is the guy who's like scientific. Like I'd be okay. I would be okay with Little Mermaid with Ariel being black, but scientifically speaking, melatonin can't reach the sea floor, like the ocean floor. So it would be scientifically impossible because without melatonin, you couldn't get dark skin.
Bitch, go back to sleep and wake up again. It's melanin.
Oh my God.
I cannot.
I can't even handle. And people just say it over and over again. And they think this is my favorite, the people who think if they say things slowly that it makes them factual.
Yeah. They need to take that melatonin and go to bed. Go to bed and wake up 3 centuries from now when this shit is just going to, it's ridiculous now. It's going to be even worse then. I just think, you know what? I'm proud for whoever's producing this to go outside the box finally because, people of color deserve a right to represent roles that make an impact in our kids' lives. We need to be able to show our children that are growing up today that they can relate to characters that are the same color of their skin and not have to just accept that these characters are white because some white man made them white.
Meanwhile, those same people are obsessed with Hamilton. And Hamilton is black, but Hamilton is a real person, right? Like, so you can make that leap there because it's cool and it's like hip hop and everybody wants to like hip hop. But for fake things, for like fictitious characters, so I really, really enjoy the internet. And sometimes, I really enjoy the internet, but sometimes I just have to. Yeah. So what I was saying to Tommy earlier is that I heard about this back when we weren't sure who Ariel was going to be, but there was murmurings that it might be a black actress. And all of this stuff was happening then. And so I've already seen a lot of it and couldn't handle it then and didn't want to re-traumatize myself or re-anger myself by now having it associated with an actual girl. I think it's cool, though, that it's this actress, singer, and not a couple others who get, it's kind of like sometimes in the Disney world, it's like the new it brown girl, and then she's in everything until they don't want to see her anymore, and then there's like another new it brown girl. So I'm glad everyone's getting some shine. Yeah.
I mean, if they gave backlash for a freaking mermaid, I can only imagine what would have happened if they casted a black lead for like Sandy in freaking Greece. They would have lost their shit. And I'm like,
to be completely fair, though,
get real, people.
And I'm just going to stand in this what is the word where, in this contradiction, right? Because I think it's stupid that people think Ariel can't be black. If they casted Princess Tiana as a white girl, I would be upset.
But
if they do that. And so it
with
feels like
valid reason.
if it feels like unfair for me to be mad about that, but not mad about this.
Not at all.
But the fact is that it's like the one black princess we have, and you take that one. It isn't the same. And sometimes people try to make those sorts of comparisons. Well, what if they changed Tiana to black? Then you would be just
We're gonna
as
lose our
mad
shit and burn
as if
shit
we
down.
change Ariel to white. And it's like, it's not. Those are not apples and apples.
If that shit
Those are
happens,
apples
we're
and
jumping on
oranges.
British Airways and we're going to burn this shit down during the Revolutionary War.
I just think I accept that sounds like a contradiction. I just counter that it's not.
It is not. It is not because, again, for eons, we've always had to identify with someone that does not look like us and say this is okay.
Yeah.
And when you
it's
finally,
your turn.
Yeah, and when if you finally give us one, if you're going to go ahead and turn it around and take it away from us, I'm like, we have never had one
or
before.
if there was like a white Pocahontas.
Yeah,
that would be wrong on so many fucking levels.
Yeah, so
holy shit, it would be terrible.
But all I say is, look, Haley, baby girl,
do you
get up there, shut these people up, and do the best Ariel you can.
You know she will.
And I was reading an article, and actually the character or the person who voiced
Ariel,
who did Ariel in the most recent play on Broadway. She's a white actress. I believe she's British. She's from England. And we met her when we went to the Hartford stage because she was doing another play. Well, she came out in support of Haley and saying, y'all need to quit the shit.
Relax.
Because a lot of people don't realize that now what a lot of theater groups are doing is doing blind casting, in where they don't look at the role based on the race that the book was written on or the play was written on or the script was written on. So they're just giving anyone an opportunity to read, and they read blindly for the role. And then the person is selected based on their performance without even being seen. And then if you happen to be a black actress, then you're it. And so they're doing a lot of that now in a lot of these theaters. And I think that's a positive way of doing it, because then you get the best person based on their talent and not on their look. And I think that would also help this whole scandal that really shouldn't even be a scandal.
Yeah, I think blind casting is a valid and correct thing. I don't know how you would audition without being seen, but I don't know anything about stage casting, so I won't jump into that. But I think blind casting is great. Like it should be, especially when it's a fiction story.
Yeah,
and even if it's a true story, I think we should start practicing being able to see past skin color. It just is what it is. So,
well,
anyway.
And the other thing too is, just very quickly, and then we'll move on, is, to me, it's like, for example, you have all these young ladies that grow up saying, oh, I want to be Ariel, or I want to be, this character in this movie. And they grow up thinking that, really not identifying color as far as what their skin is. But they grow up with those aspirations, and who are you to tell them that because they're brown,
I can't be a mermaid,
that I can't be a mermaid, or that I can't be a James Bond, or one of, the Bond women, or whatever you want to be. Why should that be the case?
Yeah.
It's 2019.
It's interesting though how the research shows that changes. The recognition of what you think you can be changes really early. So like we all think we can be mermaids at 3 or 4 years old, but by like 5.5, as soon as you get to school, someone tells you, oh, but you're too brown. You're not the right color. It happens really fast. So.
Like, one of the really good castings that I think happened, and it happened because it just diversified the show a lot more, was the switch or the casting for the witch show.
The witch show?
The witches. Oh God, Charmed. So the original Charmed
they're all
class,
brown.
they're all brown women.
Yeah, they're all
They're
brown.
either Latina, black,
half black.
absolutely amazing. Versus the original cast, it was all white, and it's been doing pretty decent on the CW. So, it's time. Get over your shit.
Yeah, it's all fiction anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
So let's move on. So what I wanted to talk about. So I was talking about like parenting instincts, and then that joined with parenting. So last week Friday night, I spent the day at the beach with the kids. We only had one daycare kid, so we had enough space in my car. We went to the beach. We had a great time. Came home. James went out for the night with some friends. Hadn't done that in a long time. And I was like, this is cool. Chill. I'll have the house to myself, put the boys to sleep. And, Emery started coughing. He had started coughing in the afternoon, and then was sort of in a grouchy mood a little bit, but he also didn't nap. So I thought that had to do with it. And he eventually went to sleep, but he woke up coughing again. And then I got him back to sleep and checked in with James, was like, James, you know, have a good time. Don't worry about rushing home. Cause usually I'm just like, you have to come back cause I can't handle these kids. But I was like, have a good time. I'm just going to sit on the couch and veg and have a good time. And then Emery woke up again and he came down the stairs and he just looked like wrecked, and he was coughing and he was crying and it was just terrible. And I went to try and put him back down to lay down. And when I put my ear to his chest, and I could feel like his little heart was racing and his breathing was super shallow. And I had seen him coughing and I knew he wasn't feeling well, but that, like, where you can feel the chest sort of like, in and out, but without the proper time for an intake, I was just like, oh, something's wrong.
He's
right?
hyperventilating.
He was having an asthma attack. He wasn't breathing enough, but he's not diagnosed as asthmatic. I don't have a pump. I didn't have a pump in my house. I didn't have any kind of medication. I didn't have any sense of him having asthma because he didn't have asthma. But in that moment, it scared me so bad that I was just like, oh, we have to do something now, because I originally thought I could let him try to get through the night, give him some cough medicine, and maybe that would help him. And then in the morning, Saturday morning, I could call the pediatrician. But after I heard his chest, after I had my face to his chest, I just thought, I can't let him suffer through the night like this, because it just doesn't seem right. And then I couldn't find James, and I was calling him and calling him and calling him, and I couldn't find him. And so then I started to freak out, and Lincoln was sleeping and Emery was still coughing, but kind of calming down a little bit, but still coughing. And then I decided he needed to go to the hospital. We had to go to the emergency room, and I kept calling James and I couldn't find him. I was like, I can't get both kids out of the house because who am I talking about? Because Lincoln weighs 55 pounds. I can't pick him up. He's fast asleep.
And sleep, dead weight. It's
fast asleep. I can't do it. And even if I had the energy to get them both into the car separately, what am I going to do when I get to the hospital? How am I going to get them both out of the car to get, I just didn't know what to do. And so then I was trying to figure out who I could call. And one of my neighbors is away, in Israel, my neighbor right across the street. And so I actually I called Yashvin, who's been on the show several times and is now become such a good friend and someone that I realized that I can always count on. And so I called her, but she didn't answer, but it was also midnight. And so eventually I was like, I have to go. And so I put Emery in the car and I drove up to our house, which is just 4 or 5 houses from mine. And I knocked on her door and nobody was answering, and I was calling her and I was knocking. And so I started knocking harder, and then she answered, and I was like, Yashvin, I need help. Can you please help me? And she, I've never been at her house at that hour. And so she realized something was wrong. And I was going to put her in my house with Lincoln because Lincoln was sleeping. And she looked at Emery and looked at me and was like, no, I'm coming with you. And she sent her husband to my house. And then we were able to get to the emergency room. I didn't think I needed the ambulance, but I knew I needed to go. And it wasn't until I saw her and then saw that how she saw us, that I realized we were in distress, and I was just holding it together, and Emery was holding it together. And then, we started going, and he said something to me and I started crying. So then he started crying. And, so everybody was like, it's okay. So we're all trying to calm down each other. And then we got to the hospital, and the great thing, I'm always talking about New Haven as a city burbia, is that we have this amazing, well-renowned hospital in the middle of the city, but it's still a small city. So there was only one family in front of us, right? There were a few people in the emergency room, but not so many that we were in there waiting. I just had this this immense fear that we would be sitting in the waiting room, the emergency room for hours waiting to be
when it
seen.
comes to respiratory issues,
well, that was
like
the thing.
asthma.
But I thought we would be waiting before they even knew that he had a respiratory issue because I didn't come in the ambulance.
They triage you right away.
I know, but I'm from New York.
Okay.
Like,
it's okay.
You don't think anybody, like, you think the worst, right? Yeah. And I was like, and so I remember something my mom always said to me is like, like, if you can't breathe, that's a big deal, you know? So it's not just, I don't feel well or whatever. It's like, I can't breathe. And that immediately sort of like elevates the emergency signal. And so I was like, he can't breathe. I can't breathe. We can't breathe. It's like,
so you ended up in the emergency room.
So we ended up in the emergency room, and the Yale New Haven Children's Hospital was just amazing. And they took him in they asked me a bunch of questions, and they took him in right away and put him on the nebulizer. And everybody was concerned because he was really shallow breathing. But after 1 or 2 rounds of the nebulizer, he started bossing around the doctors. He was like, "Take this wire off my foot." Mom, what is this? Take this thing off my face. And they said, "Oh, he's feeling better." It's like, yes, we're all feeling better.
It's alarming, right? When you are faced with something that you've never experienced before. And, a lot of people say, "Oh, you should react this way." But the truth of the matter is,
you don't know how you're going to.
You just don't know how you're going to react.
And you don't know how. You don't know how you're going to, and you don't know how you're supposed to. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit tonight about, why am I shaking this can? I forgot that you guys could see me.
And it's okay. Even just talking about something
like
that's
PTSD.
Distressful is like, it comes back to you, that emotion that you have when you were going through that trauma, because that's exactly what it is. You are going through something you're not sure how to handle, and you're trying to keep it together because you realize that you have this, small child that you have to keep together in your efforts to get them to where they need to be. And so,
and he was doing it. We were both like edgy, but doing all right. And then the minute he saw that he was like, "Oh, we supposed to be scared? Oh, I'm scared now."
So have there ever been any indications that he would at some point?
Yeah. I guess the number one indication is that everyone in both of our families has asthma. Like, I don't have asthma, but James had asthma as a kid. My sister had chronic asthma. My mother has asthma. My nephew has, everybody has asthma, but I don't have. James's sister has asthma. Like, everybody has asthma, but I don't have it, and they didn't seem to have it. And the only other time he's been on a nebulizer once, which is it's like a liquid form inhaler situation, and that was associated with an ear infection that he had before. So it happened again. He had an ear infection, and it I don't know, ears, fluid, throat, breathing, all of the things. So one exacerbated the other, and so it happened again. But I wasn't really there for the last one. James took him into the pediatrician. The same thing. He's coughing a lot. We made it through the night, and we took him in the morning. But James took him, and when I went to meet them, I opened the door, and he's got the nebulizer on his face, and his little eyes were swollen. And the nebulizer is a steroid, so it makes you a little bit jittery. And I walked back out of the room. I was like, I can't handle this. So I hadn't been involved in the actual decision to do it or realizing that it needed to be done. I just kind of walked in and saw him in that state. And to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, I forgot all about that. So this felt like a brand new situation that I had never seen before. And he's so little. He's not even big like Lincoln, where you feel like, okay, he's young, but he's strong, right? He's little. He's strong at the mouth, but he's little, and he's frail, and his little arms fit in your fingers. It's really stressful, and still makes me feel it. And I thought, I was like, it's so great that this happened on Friday, so I had a whole week, because I definitely wanted to talk about it, but I knew that I couldn't talk about it quickly. It was really, and the first thing I did the day after it happened was I was trying to decide if I wanted to talk about it at all, but sometimes we expect parents and moms in particular to be so strong and handle situations all the time that we don't leave room or give grace for when you can't, and you don't just don't know what to do.
And it's okay.
And it happens to other people, right? Yeah. And I felt like I can't show the funny and the fun and the exciting all the time and not be truthful about these shitty moments when, like, forget Breezy, like I just don't know what I'm doing.
So let me ask you, what are the lessons learned from this experience for you?
Yeah, so one of the things I thought a couple days later was I was really upset and scared when I couldn't find James, but because he wasn't there, I was able to make a unilateral decision. You know, it didn't have to be a discussion back and forth. Well, do you think we should go? Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should. Like, do you think it sounds bad? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know what his reaction would have been, but I do know that we would have spent time discussing it. And then I might have, knowing myself, if we were on opposite sides where he thought maybe we could get through to the morning, I might have then gotten more upset and defensive about it. Well, I want to go to the emergency room and and then it would have been a bigger problem. And so even though I was upset and scared by myself, I was like allowed to make a decision. And I kind of wavered back and forth, but then I realized that even though I was still unsure if we should go to the hospital, I was getting dressed to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like in my mind, I was prepared to go, and which made me realize that we needed to go.
Well, a lot of people, it's like, for example, when they say to you, if there's a fire, get out of the house.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that 95% of people that experience fires, the first thing they want to do is get dressed before they leave the house. It's a mental thing, and you have to go through it. And so, And
I did. I got dressed. I mean, it was midnight. I was in my pajamas, no bra, like I had nothing. He was in pajamas. I think I left him in pajamas, and I was going to leave Lincoln sleeping. But the other thing that's crazy, right, is that I had so many other things that were going through my head. Like, I can't go out of the house with no clothes on. I spent at least 5 minutes trying to find my insurance card because I use like my cell phone has a wallet and it doesn't have a ton of space. And I'm like, I don't need to go to the hospital anyway. So I never know where that thing is. Mm-hmm. And I just kept thinking,
take a picture of it.
I know now, right?
Oh no,
but it's like, I just kept thinking I'm going to get there and they're not going to see us because they're going to think I don't have insurance.
Yeah.
And
well, they can't deny you.
I listen.
I know in distress, in a stressful moment.
I don't know that, right?
I know.
And how many times have I seen on Facebook or on like the news, like crazy shit happens. And so then I was like, fuck, I'm going to be on the news tonight. Right. Like, I was just like, cause they're going to see him. Right. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be on the news. I should put on a bra. Like it was, and then I was thinking, I have to get dressed. Where's my insurance card? Where's my wedding ring? They're going to think I'm a single mom with they're going to want to know why I have this kid out in the middle of the night. And I'm going to be like, cause he fucking can't breathe. And we have to be we're at the emergency room. Isn't this where you come when you have a problem? Like, why are you worried about whether I'm single or young or whatever? And so I was just going through all of these like little things in my mind that were popping in, really fast and have a lot to do with the fact that we spend a lot of time on the internet, right? I spent a lot of time on the internet seeing all of these worst case scenarios, and because I look at them, more of them show up on my feed, right? The algorithms and whatever. And so it feels to me like that is what's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And the reality is that it both is happening and not happening everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's not that those shitty things are not happening to brown people, black people, people who look like me, but it isn't happening all the time everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't your experience.
And it's not my experience.
You immediately thought it would have been.
Yes, I immediately thought I was going to be on the news. I was like,
I'm going to turn on the morning news and find out Candace got arrested because...
Oh my God.
So the lesson learned here is that you can't expect to know how you're going to react. That's
right.
one.
Number one. You should have pictures of all your important stuff, or save all of your important stuff like in your contacts, maybe like under your own thing, or like just have an emergency contact where you have a bunch of information. I think would have been helpful to me.
I mean, one thing that people don't realize is our phones, each one of our phones has a notes app that you can take notes on. And I know that for the Apple version of the notes app, and I believe also for the Android version, you can actually paste pictures, you can paste documents, you can paste information that you may need that you can type in yourself, and then you can lock those notes, password protect those notes, so that you could have that information available to you
when you need it
at your fingertips, but not expose it to anyone else that may not need to see what's on behind those notes.
That's a really good point. It's
a good idea to maybe think about that, because you just never know.
And your brain doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Your brain doesn't work.
It doesn't.
I was thinking all kinds of things. I was looking through daycare documents, like while I was waiting for maybe James to call back or for it's like people to call back. I was trying to figure out where possibly this thing could be. And then eventually I was like, listen, my doctor is in the network. They must be able to find us somehow and we'll figure it out. Like,
I mean, there's so many things that you can do. Another really good thing that I think that they started introducing is what they call a medical ID tag for people in their phones, and where emergency personnel can go in and find and literally open without having to unlock your phone, right? Because you don't have access to a device if it's not unlocked. Without having to go through any of that, medical emergency personnel know to go and find your ID, medical ID. And there, they can get your name, they can get your age, your date of birth, your blood type. Any
if you know to put those things in.
Yes. Any allergic things that you may be allergic to, and also emergency contacts. Yeah. So that they can contact people. Another really cool thing that people do too now, if you're going to like a big crowd, you can put a picture as your wallpaper that has your phone number typed over it. So if you lose a device, someone can actually just literally look at your cover picture and find out who the phone belongs to and where they can call.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's another thing.
Or you can take a Sharpie and write. Sometimes when I go out in crowds with my boys, I take a pen or a Sharpie and write my name and number on their arm. Like it's
lost.
It's
Please
real.
return.
It's real basic, but I feel like it would work. And Emery's a runner, so.
No, I mean, but there's so many things you can do. So now my question to you is, so now you know that, he had an experience with asthma. What do you do the next time this happens?
Well, so now we have a pump in the house.
Okay.
And we're going to get a nebulizer, which is what they used. And those are immediate fixes, right? For the moment, to like just get you right in the moment, and then you have time to call wherever. So those are the two things that I want to have in the house at all times. And we're going to be traveling, so I want to make sure I have one for when we're traveling, so that we don't get caught out without that. And then it would be good for both kids if all of a sudden the other one gets an asthma attack that I wasn't expecting.
And be mindful that when you start getting weather that exceeds, 75, 80 degrees, and it's going to be very humid, very hot. It's already hard to breathe in those conditions. Those could also aggravate your child's asthma,
symptoms,
allergies. So try to keep them.
Allergens.
Yeah. Try to keep them in cool spaces, well filtered, air filtered spaces, which is why they always say, run an air conditioner if you're going to have them in the house, just to sort of kind of keep everything at bay.
I know. I just today, and ours aren't fantastic, but Emery started scratching his neck, and it seemed to me like he was getting a bit of a heat rash, right? Especially because your chin is always down, so it's like hot. And I realized I was getting one in the crook of my arm, because you're sort of always holding a baby, or bent up in a little bit. So I put on the ACs, like all of them, all around, and closed up everything so that it would sort of just take the edge off. It's not going to get cold in my house. I don't have central air, but it's just enough to like keep you from being moist and like just to take the edge off a little bit. And it definitely worked. And I'm gonna have a tip. It's tied to my tip at the end of the show.
Nice.
But yeah, so it was just this moment of like panic, and it took like maybe 15 or maybe a half an hour for me to like go through all the different scenarios in my head and then come up with a final decision. Like, I'm going, and I'll figure it out later, but I'm going. Right. And it still took, and I don't even know, maybe it took less than half an hour. I can't really figure out.
You just lose.
But you lose time in the moment.
Perception of time, yeah.
And I just know that it took me some time thinking about whether I should or I should not. And then I just got to a point where I was like, this is happening, and I'll figure it out later. Like, whatever it costs, whatever happens, like, even if they tell me he's fine and you didn't need to come, what was fantastic and is like incredible, like doctor bedside manner, is every single doctor who came in that night said to me, you made the right decision in coming.
And
Right.
they're right.
And they're right. But even in being there, even in watching him get the medicine, because they wouldn't give him medicine if he didn't need it, I still was like, well, maybe he was, you still question whether you did the right thing or whether it was as serious as you were afraid that it was. And it just is better to be wrong than to be
And
wrong.
you know
what I mean?
Motherhood doesn't come with an instructional manual. So it's like, you can't read. Like, I mean, you can read how to react, and there's some books on the topic, but if you've never experienced that, it's not something that you're just going to, let me randomly pick up a book on asthma just in case my son ever, develops. That's not how things work. Usually you start reading up on things when things happen. And so when in doubt, just go. Just go. Go.
And afterwards, I thought a lot, like, I thought a lot about parents that I know, moms and parents that I know who have kids who have chronic illnesses or who have like, what is it? Like a life or death illness, or who have cancer or who are in remission from cancer, who spend a lot more time in that zone that I was in for just 4 hours. Right. And, I felt I felt like I got a new gray hair in those 4 hours, but then it was over, right? And I know specific people, and I know that there are people all around me, in the parenting community, there are children who are sick, and they're sick for a long time. And that kind of prolonged trauma that parents are going through, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if the child is going to get better, or knowing specifically that the child is not going to get better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it felt like I needed someone to talk to, and it only happened, like it only lasted 4 hours, right? The experience only lasted 2 hours. I just was in the hospital for a little bit longer. I felt like I needed to get it off it was like a weight on my chest, and I needed. And so I just think about parents who are in these sorts of prolonged situations, that tear apart families, right? People get divorced through long-term.
People lose houses.
People lose all kinds of things because you are so focused on trying to get through and help your child that you don't realize just how, like, much it's hurting you and what a toll it's taking on you physically, on you mentally, emotionally, all of those things. And while you've got your head down trying to focus on your kid, you're like suffering. Yeah. You're suffering in all of those ways, mental, physical, emotional, and you don't get help for it. And so I just encourage parents, but in this case, parents who are going through any kind of prolonged, I mean, it's trauma. And even though you're not the one who's sick, your body doesn't realize that. It still feels the effect of that trauma. Like, make sure that and I'm not talking self-care like manicures and massages. I'm talking, make sure you go and talk to somebody. Yeah. Make sure that you take advantage of the doctors asking you if you're okay. Like, all of the doctors asked me if I was okay. And at the beginning I wasn't okay, right? But make sure you take advantage of getting the sort of like emotional and mental support that you need to get you through that situation or that time, because I can't even fathom having to deal with those 4 hours over 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months, 4 years. Like, I can't even, like, the kind of compound stress, like, I literally can't even imagine it. Because just the 4 hours felt to me like life changing. So part of, I wrote a post about it on Facebook. I'm talking about it now. Part of it is, for me, it feels like I will have this as a moment to remember for myself, but also it feels like a chance to reach out to other people and make sure that you guys are other parents and make sure that you are taking care of yourselves, because you can't take care of these little people if
Mhm.
you are not well. And again, we laugh and joke about manicures and massages, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like, make sure you have somebody to talk to, make sure you have good people around you. I
Mhm.
cannot,
The village
like,
is
the
important.
village is so fucking important. And I cannot stress how grateful I am to my friends who were there when I called, and when I posted. So many other of my friends who live right around me said, girl, you should have knocked on you should have called me. I'm just down the street. Don't forget you can call me. And even that just felt like uh, it was like a chorus that just reminds you
Mhm.
that you're not like
But it also
by
reinforces the
yourself.
fact that, if you need to make that decision, you can
Right.
do so knowing that you've got the backup.
Yeah, you've got people,
know?
and it's so important. And I went to an event maybe a month ago or something where there were so many. It was like 30 women. I'm really bad at remembering number of people. Like, I can't tell. Say it was 30 women. I think at least 5 women in that group said they came to the event just to come outside and like be with other people. Right? Like, literally, they didn't even really know what the meeting was about. They're just like, they're going to be women. It was called a healing circle. And they're like, I've been cooped up in my house, or like, I don't have any friends here. I'm not from here or whatever. And they were like, I just came because I thought it would be an opportunity to get out and be with people and meet some new people, which broke my heart, because it made me think so many people are in their house alone with either with no one or feeling like they have no one,
Or thinking that they can.
thinking that they have no one. And all of that amounts to having no one. You know what I mean? And that sort of loneliness, whether it's in a like emergency situation or in a prolonged, this is just how you feel all the time situation, like that shit is so hard. I can't even. I felt alone, and I was only in Connecticut for a month by myself. You know what I mean?
I will tell you, listen, had you called me, I would have been there too. So,
I appreciate that.
Hey, listen,
that. And
ain't no shame in my game
Right.
to go sit up in your living room with my phone and just, let the child sleep.
I know.
So-
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm really grateful to my village. I had so many people call me and text me and respond to that like message, and having heard about that experience. And even James has said, it's so funny because James has people. Our towns are so small, right? Our city is so small. He has people come up to him and say, "Oh, is Emery okay?" And he was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, he knows what they're talking, but he doesn't know that I've told people.
Yeah.
I was like, "Listen, I can't keep things in because it makes me crazy.
Yeah.
And I need to let it out, and I need to know that people are around. And that's how I've built my network. That's how I've built my village. I'm not from New Haven. I'm not from Connecticut. My family lives in New York. Your family lives in Massachusetts. They cannot get here in time. We have to have people. We cannot be like, isolated and insular, and you're like, it's only us. Like, it is only us, and also these other people.
But it's
like, it's us first and these other people.
So like, for example, and you know how in recent decades you're starting to see a lot of people lose the camaraderie of having really good relationships with your neighbors and people that live around you. And so people sort of kind of tend to keep to themselves and blah, blah, blah. This is a really good example as to why you should try to foster healthy relationships with people who live around you, because you never know when they're going to need you, and you never know when you're going to need them.
I should probably stop fighting my neighbor.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you just very quickly a story. So the house next door is a house that the people who own it rent. And when I first bought my house, my neighbor that lived next door, Liliana and her boyfriend, were amazing. And they would play with my dogs, and she had a daughter, and she would come over and play with the dogs. And sadly, he was suffering from cancer, and he was recovering. He had throat cancer. 3 days before Thanksgiving, he choked on a piece of toast with peanut butter and died.
Wow.
That was on a Sunday, the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And I was at work, and she sent that little girl running to every door and knocking to see if someone can help. It was traumatic.
Here. Yeah.
When I found out about it the next day, I felt horrible because I was like, oh my God, what would I have done if I were home?
Right.
What could have? And I know CPR.
Mhm.
I'm trained to do CPR at work. I can handle, a
Yeah.
AED. So I mean, but to think, I'm like, oh my God, what would I have done? Because I knew him personally,
Yeah.
and so you just never know, So
And also make sure you make friends with the neighborhood. Like because I work from home now,
Mhm.
it's like me and Yashmin is at home, and maybe one other person on our block. I call us the like neighborhood old ladies, right? Because I always grew up with people in the neighborhood. You see the curtain move a little bit. The old lady is always checking. She hears a noise. She sees what's going on.
Mhm.
I literally know when people are coming or going. The 5 or 6 houses around me, I hear the car doors open. Like I can hear everything because I'm at home. And people know who's at home and who's not in a good way, right? Like in your neighborhood in a
Like
good
she's
way.
not
So
being freaky or like trying to
No, I just mean I'm not watching people. It's
Yeah.
just when something happens, you know which door you can knock on because that person is usually home. I know the grandma across the street diagonally is usually home.
Yep.
I'm usually home. My neighbor up the street is usually home, right? So there are people who are around. There's some retirees on our street who are usually home. But it's important to know who those people are so you don't waste time knocking on the people's doors who work outside.
That's right. No, and I'll tell you one thing. I have this Italian woman that lives across the street from me. She is slowly becoming like my third mother because I have so many mothers. That woman can cook, and she's always like she likes to like conversate and talk about everything that happens in the neighborhood. So if you need the news and the scoop, that's who you go to.
Right.
But that woman will bring. Let me tell you, every time I show up at my door, she's always walking over with a little like plastic container of
So
soup,
good. So
cookies.
good.
She makes the only biscottis from scratch. They're so good. And it's amazing because now we have that relationship, and it's like she's constantly every time I look at her, I'm like, girl, have you seen this?
So someone's coming to look for you. Well, plenty of people. If a Monday comes or goes and they don't hear you on the radio, they're going to send somebody to look for you. So that's good.
So and it's a good feeling to have. But foster those relationships with those people, because even the ones that you least expect are the ones that are really going to come through.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share that again, I guess, and make sure that I reached out. It's my way of reaching out to the parents that I know around, right? I've had people on the show who have children with in remission or with chronic with heart transplants. I know someone from high school whose son had a heart transplant. Like there are people around, and I often think about it as like a grown-up problem, quote unquote grown-up problem, but like I'm a fucking grown-up now. Yeah. And so the people around me have real fucking problems.
But I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for making the decision that you made and for taking it upon yourself to make that decision. Because I know that you look to your husband for a lot of guidance in a lot of things. And when he wasn't available.
And confirmation. We like confirm for each other as a team that like we come to a decision together, right?
And when he wasn't there, you stepped up your game and did what you had to do.
Yeah.
Breezy mommy became Breezy. Let's go to the ER. This is not happening. This is happening. And
not today. Not today. It's not happening today.
Your business.
Yeah. So,
which is good.
Yes. So thank you for letting me air that off my chest. Let's wrap up. I have a tip. Remember I said was connected.
Hashtag MomSoHard tip.
Hashtag MomSoHard tip connected to, you said something about the AC and like we were talking about cooling off the house in this sort of heat for those of us who don't have central air. Do you know that deodorant is your best friend? Not just because it keeps you like not funky under the armpits.
No.
But because like the way it keeps you not funky under your armpits is by keeping you dry. It is also really good for all of your creases. So today when I was feeling that irritation in my, I don't know if this thing has a real name, but it's like the crook of your elbow. Like I put my deodorant and I just like fucking swiped it on the crook of my elbow. And now it doesn't hurt anymore because it's not wet. You know what I mean?
It stops you from sweating in those areas.
It stops you from sweating and allows you to kind of dry out. So like for you guys on Facebook, who can see me, like take some deodorant and just swipe it in some of those places. It's also really good for those of us who have a little chub rub like between the thighs. So a friend of mine actually has one deodorant that's for her underarm and one like body deodorant.
I'm gonna have to like get a body deodorant because let me tell you, that's the worst.
Behind your knees, on your chub rub. I even thought today about in your cleavage because like the thing that I remember is baby powder.
Yeah.
I just don't want baby powder all up on my neck and all like it's just not what I want to do. Plus, baby powder and the talcum stuff is actually not good for us anymore.
Yeah.
Ever. I
Especially
can't even say
like
anymore.
near
It's
private
just like
parts
not
because
anymore.
that talc can get in there and then
Yeah.
you'll end up with a yeast infection
Or cancer. I don't
or
know.
something else.
Everything's going to give us cancer. But so I don't want it to look like 1996 where we're all walking around with powder coming. You get all dressed and
Although
fancy.
I do love the smell of
like
that.
powder up on your neck or on your back. I see lots of people still like powder up on their neck, on their back or whatever. So anyway, get yourself another deodorant. I'm not
Make
I'm
sure
not
it's
too
clear
fancy.
too, because you don't want it all
Right?
over your clothes. So
I'm not fancy. So today when I needed it, I used my regular deodorant. But you could get a spare deodorant and it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to work. And put it on all your little like irritated spots behind your knees and your thighs, on your like boobs, under your boobs.
life.
TMI, but like for the big girl, the big girls. The girls are big.
The big breasted
the boobs
girls.
the booby girls.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel really off today. It's Friday.
That commercial, I love it. You know,
What
you've been with
commercial?
them all your life, your girls.
Your booby girls?
No, they just the commercial starts by saying, you know them girls. They've been with you your whole life,
my God.
but do you really know them at the end? And they're talking about your breasts.
Yeah.
It's sort of kind of like a commercial to remind women
Mammograms?
to make sure you go get mammograms and get checked. So
It's true.
but just to let you know, with our hashtag MomSoHard tip of the week, make sure that the deodorant is clear. You also need to make sure it's antiperspirant, and you can get it unscented. So if you don't want those scents in certain areas,
Although a whiff of summer breeze might not be
it's not a
that
bad thing. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for me. Tune in next week and every week. Check us out on all the places where you can find the show. We're everywhere where you stream your shows. Share the show and reach out to any of your parent friends, mom friends that are, going through anything related, like health related with their kid, because they're all right, but they're not all right. So just check in on them. Anyway, I love you guys. Bye. This show is produced by Tom Ortiz at Digital Stream Radio. It's available for download on Podbean. Follow us at Facebook at Breezy Moms Podcast or email us at breezymomspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, don't stress, just breathe.